after watching the film on Sunday, it was evident our guys were definitely ready to play on Saturday afternoon, and it's something that, since we took the field at Western Illinois in our pregame and noticed a pretty flat team at pregame, we've really kind of made light of and made note of to the upperclassmen, and they were ready to go. We were really pleased with that first quarter, getting those 13 points right off the bat. We took it down offensively, had a nice drive, got points. Defensively, we had a 3 and out, and then took it down again. And then C.J. Smith's punt return, which was really good to see our special teams be a factor in giving us field position to get a score, and we go up 13-0. And I think at that time we'd had 120 some yards of offense and maybe 20 plays, and I think they'd had maybe 5 or 6 plays and very little offense. So that's what we needed to do. We needed to start fast. At halftime, I was a little disappointed because I thought we'd kind of let the momentum slip with our missed field goal, and then they were able to drive it down and had 2 long third down conversions that allowed them to get points and probably go in with some momentum at half. And so we talked about it at half of we needed to take the momentum back, and they were getting the football first, so it was important first drive, offense and defense, to make something happen. In defense, we were 3 and out. Offense was able to take the ball again, march it down the field, and get a touchdown to put that lead back, I think, to 27-3. So really was pleased at our energy level to start the first half and obviously to start the second half. And looking at as a whole, our offensive line and defensive lines were really, really good on Saturday, and they were really the key to our success because it opened up everything else as far as being able to run it and throw it, as well as we had a number of times where that ball was out really fast, and on defense allowed our kids to make some plays on the ball and knock balls away. So really pleased, and we'll move on to South Dakota for this week. So I'll take any questions.
Coach, you guys have played South Dakota twice in the last 2 seasons. You haven't given up a point. Is that something that you try and build on, or is it one of those situations where it's a different cast of characters?
It's a different cast of characters, and the fact that in those previous 2 years, especially I look at 2 years ago, we didn't have to go to the Dakota Dome, and you can kind of look at their history. They're a really good football team at home, a confident football team at home, and so it'll be a different environment. It'll be loud. We'll have to do a lot of silent snap counts offensively, so it's a brand new game and a brand new year for sure.
You had to do a silent count this year?
Iowa State.
How did that go?
I didn't think, I think Iowa State was just kind of the nervousness of the first game in that first quarter, but then we were able to settle in. But something that we'll work on extensively this week, being either inside or outside, we'll have noise each day to force our offense to have to be able to utilize it.
How does having those new challenges presented each week kind of help keep you guys sharp and prevent maybe a little bit of complacency as you guys prepare each week?
Well, I hope with the seniors and the captains we have that we don't get complacent, Beth. That's the thing that has been our focal point and something we talk about every Monday when we get back together. Of great win, now we're 0-0, and let's move on to the next game, and there's a new set of challenges. And obviously South Dakota will present that set of challenges, being that they're at home and they're hungry for a win. And they didn't play particularly well. I know Coach Glenn, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, was disappointed in their performance on against Missouri State. So I know they're going to play well. I know they're going to be ready for this game. And so each week's a new challenge, and our kids have accepted all the challenges so far, so it's another one we have to go deal with.
Chris, you get to see a silent count on the other team quite often.
Yep.
Do you get to learn from those kind of situations?
Yeah, everybody's a little bit different. Some people, Jeff, will go on a hand. Some people go on a foot. Some people will, one series do that, the next series take the second foot. There's a lot of different things to try to get us off target, but the one thing that you can be assured of is once that center pops his head up, I think a lot of the checks and adjustments and changing of plays are over, because ultimately you got to get the play off and get the snap off.
Coach, how difficult has it been, or how tough is it to move like Esley Thornton did from quarterback to linebacker, and how seamless has that went for him from what you've seen?
Well, I think S would tell you this is his first full year taking spring and fall where he feels comfortable in all the things we're doing defensively. You know, when we moved him, it was in the middle of the season, I believe, and it was more, hey, let's get you indoctrinated to what defense is about and work towards the next year. And I know each year S has felt more comfortable, but you can ask any of our guys that play on defense. You can't learn this stuff overnight. You know, Colton Hegel from 2010 and 2011 compared to what he is now is night and day. And so S just feels so much more confident and comfortable in our system. I think it's a really hard transition, extremely hard, especially if you don't have spring ball and fall camp. Those times are when you learn our defense. You can't learn our defense during the season because it just goes game plan to game plan. You have to have those spring and fall camp times to learn it. So I've been really pleased with S's progress, and S is a great playmaker for us now. He's not a role player, he's a playmaker.
What did he use at quarterback that you can use at linebacker? Are there any talents there?
I think seeing the quarterback's demeanor a lot of times, whether it's reading eyes, whether it's surveying a defense, not only that, but you know, we talk about it with Crockett and King and Chase. I mean, if I'm a defensive guy, I'm looking at that running back to see, is he surveying the field? It must be pass. If he's locked in, it must be run. I mean, we try to do some of those things so that our kids have a greater understanding of the game of football, and that's something that you can teach guys. Some guys have an innate ability to do it, like LJ and Travis and Heegs and Duds, but a lot of those guys, you can teach them a lot of stuff, and I think playing quarterback, playing the position, has allowed him to utilize some of those things that I just talked about to his advantage.
Coach, when you watch South Dakota's highlights or look at their stats, is it kind of hard to believe they're 2-5?
Yeah, and they've had, you know, the quarterback, who I think is a really good player, Earl, got hurt, I think it was in the first game, and so he's been out, and then his first game back was a couple weeks ago. He's probably starting to get more comfortable, get more timing with his receivers, but they have, I think, a nice complement of wide receivers. I like all three running backs that they play. All three guys are really exceptional players, and they're playing well up front. They've got a good offensive line, and once again, you know, we'll have our hands full because they'll be ready to play the Bison, and they've got enough talent. We've seen that. You know, they should have beat Montana last year with a lot of the same guys, and really I thought they played Montana exceptionally well out at Montana. So I know that although Joe might be frustrated, that those kids will respond and be ready to play the Bison.
So you got Trey Dempsey backing up 3 spots now.
I know it. Well, he backs up corner and backs up more Hegel's position. You know, he could play Christian's position. Andrew Smith can play both positions, the strong and the free. It's something that we try to do at practice, of getting Trey reps at all 3 spots, giving Andrew reps at 2 of the 3, or at 2 spots. But Trey's a pretty versatile guy, and for a redshirt freshman, what's on his plate from schematics, and for him to be able to handle all that stuff tells you an awful lot about the football savvy of that kid.
Was it as bad as Spear or Pierre?
No, they don't think it's not an ACL, and now they're trying to decide if it's an MCL again. And so they needed to wait a day or two, according to Bobby this morning, but the ACL was okay, and now they think more MCL, which if it's MCL, it may be a few weeks, could be up to 4 to 6 weeks, but it won't be season ending, which for that young man, what he's been through, I want him to be able to finish out the season because he's getting a ton better. He finally had looked fast again from us seeing him at practice from when he got injured in the middle of August until this past week, and my heart goes out to him because he's kind of been snake bit since he's been here with injuries, and I'm really pleased that it's not an ACL.
How's he doing? I guess he's just dealt with so many bad breaks, you know?
Yeah, he's hanging in there. He's got a lot of pride. He's down, obviously, because it's just when he feels like he's getting back healthy and ready to contribute, something happens to him. So, and I told him when I was out on the field with him, I said, you know, hang in there. This isn't your fault. This was, you know, something that just happened. And he did. He got rolled up on from behind, and I feel bad for Pierre, but he'll bounce back. He's he's hungry to be out there. He's hungry to be successful. So I'm confident that he'll come back this year.
Coach Klieman, what do you find out there?
Cooner is kind of day to day. He said it felt better today, but obviously it's a high ankle sprain. And you probably don't miss as much time as a lineman as you would as a skill kid, but it'll be probably wait and see this week.
Coach, you're obviously unbeaten on the road, so it hasn't hurt you that much, but your team hasn't gotten off to the greatest starts away from the Dome. How important is it to making it just an easier game for you guys all around to get off to a quick start? Well,
Home or away, we need to come out faster, and we've been able to do that the last couple weeks in Southern here and Indiana State here, but it's something that we emphasize, something we talk about, but some of that has to do with the opponent too. They script some really nice plays, or they script some really good defenses against us, and the bottom line is whether you get off to a great start or not, you can't panic if you don't, and that's something that the resiliency of this group, when they haven't gotten off to a good start, they know that it'll come if they just have some patience, but it's something that obviously we need to emphasize.
I know Kevin kind of went, but probably missed some practice, didn't look like himself a little bit.
No, he didn't. He couldn't punch. That was the thing that we wanted him maybe as a pass receiver, and then the first call we have is a naked boot, and he's in there, and he tried to punch the guy, and you could tell his arm just didn't have the strength. And I talked to Bobby today, the trainer, and he said he felt better, so he said, I don't know how much contact we want to have with him this week, especially on Monday and Tuesday, but he'll be further along than he was last week, so our plan is to play him.
Did Beck go hobbling off too?
He did. He had a strained calf that I didn't hear anything more about today. On Sunday, he said it was sore, but I think we all know Travis Beck, that I'd expect to see 52 running around out there.
Warlock's fumbles going to affect his playing time, or?
You don't want Polasek down here, do you? Not if I have anything to do with it. Chase is a good football player, and we can't just ride two guys. We have to have all three guys, and I'm frustrated for Chase. I'm frustrated in Chase as he is in himself. If it were a number of people, and most of you guys from around here know Chase, how competitive that kid is and how much pride he has. Chase is going to bounce back, and the thing that's so interesting is in practice, and we do a great job on our scout team defense trying to strip every day, and he's the guy that always is the one that has the best ball security. So we'll address it. Tim will address it probably different than I do, but Chase is going to be an integral part moving forward, and I will not lose confidence in Chase Morlock. He's a program guy that I know will have success.
Chris, there's a time when the 3-4, the offense is here had trouble with 3-4. Now it seems like it's done a 180. We've done better on the 3-4 this year.
I think it helps, Jeff, that we've seen more. And the other thing that helps is, I'll have to talk to Matt about this. If we can schedule our conference games and our non-conference game based on the defenses being played, it's great, because we went Southern Illinois, Indiana State, South Dakota, 3-4, 3-4, 3-4. There's a lot of carryover from Tuesday to Tuesday to Tuesday in our practice. And so I asked Coach Riley about that, our offensive line coach, and he says if you don't see it, then he can see there's some validity to that. But as much as we're now seeing it in our league, and it's something that we practice and try to emphasize in the spring, that it shouldn't be a factor. If we can knock them off the football in a 3 down or 4 down, we should be okay.
You notice on the offensive line, it's just the last 2 weeks specifically, it just looks like they're just getting off the ball so much better. Has that been something they've been focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. We our practices have been much more physical on Tuesday, and they always have been physical here since I've been here, but we've kind of cranked it up the last few weeks after the Western Illinois game, where we just weren't creating a push at all, and John was making plays, or King or Chase were making plays, and we really put an emphasis on it in the last 2 weeks, that even some of the runs that have been 3 and 4 yards over the last 2 weeks, the offensive line is getting off the football, doing a great job. I think our schemes have become a little bit better. The more we're around that 3-4, our tight ends are blocking better. The other guy that doesn't get mentioned a lot that I'm really, really pleased with is Jedry. Jed Resear's doing a great job as a fullback. And you talk about having a lot to live up to in Andrew Grothman, with Groth being a 4-year player here, but Jedry's doing a phenomenal job of either kicking out that defensive end or logging, as we would say, on that defensive end that wants to spill everything.
Coach, has Nate Tangway played better than you had hoped for?
He's playing better, but I have high expectations for Nate. From the time we recruited him to listening to those guys last year on that side of the ball saying he's difficult to block, he's tough to block, he's going to be a difference maker, but he's getting more comfortable in our system as well. And no one, Coach Gazer's doing such a great job of the backfield sets this, Nate. Here's the top 2 or 3 plays you're going to see. You can play this technique differently, or you can be more aggressive on this look or this blocking scheme. But so happy and so pleased with Nate. He's a competitive kid that he knew that he had to arrive on the stage as a redshirt freshman, and I know that we've all talked that was one of the positions that was most concerning to us coming into the season, and Nate and Brian have been dynamite. We are still progressing with Grant and with Austin in the fact of they're playing some plays. We'd probably like to get them in there a little bit more, but because of Nate's positive play, we haven't been able to do that. Plus, this last week, I think we had 53 plays, so I think the most a starter had was 40, so it wasn't a full game, and we need to try to get probably Grant in there a little bit more.
Coach, how important was it for your offense to get Zach Braun in the end zone a couple of times this weekend?
I think it was important for our offense, our coaches, for Zach. He'd been close. He'd been battling injuries, and we made a conscious effort of making sure that Carson knew, hey, give him some 50-50 balls. Give him the opportunity where he can go up and battle that defensive back. And if you've noticed in a couple of the previous games, and part of that was Zach's inability to get vertical because of his foot, we were just overthrowing the few of those. And so we made a real effort to, hey, underthrow it a little bit. Let Zach come back for it. Let him have an opportunity, because we've seen from our defensive backs going against Zach in spring and fall that those 50-50 balls, he comes down with quite a bit.
You guys have had some fumbles, some dropped balls. Is that something you guys are kind of scratching your heads right now? Maybe a challenge you guys weren't expecting right now?
Yeah, more the drops than necessarily the fumbles. Those we'll address, but the drops are more, maybe a kid makes a great play on a strip of a fumble or puts his helmet right on a ball and stuff, but the drops are a little bit, they're concerning. We're going to do a few more jugs machine things because Carson zips it now. Carson's got some zing on that football, but part of it is you can't emphasize it so much that the kids then all of a sudden get so tight and catching the football. But we'll be on the jugs machine probably a little bit more this week so we don't wear Carson's arm out.
Coach, your penalties came way down last game. Anything to that?
Emphasis, maybe. We talked about playing a cleaner game, and we eliminated some penalties, but then had the drops on offense. So we take that as a whole and say we got to play a clean game, in the fact of not turning the football over, and we've been pretty doggone good on that front this year, and the penalties as well, but just trying to continue to emphasize it.
Was the ball that Woods had in the back of the end zone, should he make that catch?
I think he should make the catch, but going back and looking at it, Mike, it was a little bit tougher than what I thought. They let him go. They cut him loose from the start of the play, and we missed a block up front that made Carson rush it just a little bit, where Carson probably could have just lofted it up there nice and easy. But and it's a play that Kerry would say, Coach, I've got to make that. And he was, after the game, he found me and said, Coach, I got to make that play. And it was a ball that was above his head, but he got both hands on it, and we got to be able to haul that in.